มาจักกำลังปันสงครามเชียนปรัชญาแห่งสามัคคีกลมดันเนียสงครามปองรากาเปลี่ยกัมพูชีหมายตรงรบเนียเตรียมเพียสันเสรีไอ้กระเรียนโบราณเพียมอาคัมปไตยขมายประสริปโดประดันไทยรักษามันอ้อยบ่ตึงเฉลียงปีนหมกตรวจตราสมบัติโดนตาทนเทียนเจียดขมาย
Good evening. Thank you for joining our show today. My name is Linda Wu. Welcome and again, thank you. This is Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. This is part of the CNRP America. Today is Tuesday, May the 11th, 2021. Before we start, please help to support our petitions. Ending impunity for justice in Cambodia. Your support is very important for us to find justice for victims of state-backed killing in Cambodia. Until now, hundreds of victims never received any justice. Please help to support our petitions. Ending impunity for justice in Cambodia at change.org. I have a short clip. Please watch the short clips, and then it's going to explain some more in detail why we are seeking your signature and your support. Thank you.
តើយុត្តិធម៌ឬនីតិរដ្ឋភាព
Between 1975 and 1979, the green rice fields of Cambodia became the killing fields of Cambodia. Over 2 million lives were lost, including the lives of my own parents and many of my relatives. The Khmer Rouge wanted a society that is equal according to them. We still live and we are haunted with the legacy of the Khmer Rouge, which is the culture of impunity that continues to exist in Cambodia today. It is for this reason that we have started a campaign, worldwide campaign, a campaign to end impunity in Cambodia by seeking justice for cases, for the executions, for the killings that are organized, that are backed by the state. Among those cases of state-backed killings are the killings of Chivichir, a very famous trade union leader, Bisep Pilaka, a ballet dancer, of Kemley, an independent analyst, of Chutvuti, a well-known environmentalist, of Venerable Sun Bunthurn, who was advocating for the monks to have the right to vote, including workers who demanded fair wages. The campaign will also advocate for governments that are members of the United Nations to put pressure on the government of Cambodia to conduct independent investigations by using universal tools such as the UN Protocol for Independent Investigation. The campaign will also advocate for governments that believe and want to protect universal human rights to impose sanctions on the leaders of the government of Cambodia who are implicated in these state-backed extrajudicial killings. We ask you to be with us, to support us, to be part of a campaign to end the culture of impunity in Cambodia and to find justice for those who have been waiting for justice for their loved ones killed by the state. There cannot be real peace unless there is justice. There cannot be justice unless there is independent investigation. And then take those cases to an independent justice system. Join us by signing on this petition. Thank you.
យើងរួមគ្នាបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅកម្ពុជា
Thank you, and please help to support our petitions. I just checked change.org. We are over 80,000 signatures already. We are so close to 81,000 signatures. Your support is very important. Please help to sign and share our petitions ending impunity for justice in Cambodia at change.org. Thank you. Our topic for today is leadership in time of crisis. We will focus on COVID-19 in Cambodia. So I will introduce the topic in a little, I have introduced the topic, but I will go over intro to the topic a little bit. But before that, I would like to introduce my three wonderful guests. I am surrounded by initial S today. So my first guest would be Sita Arunson. She is the CNRP supporter in California. Let me bring her out. ជំរាបសួរបង
ជំរាបសួរ Linda.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me again.
No, thank you for being here. You are so kind. I think you've been here twice already this month. I mean, like in April and
I lost count, but a few times.
I just realized this is the beginning of May. I'm still in the mindset of April. Thank you, Bang, for being here.
No problem.
My second S would be Sammady. He is the youth president of the CNRPA in Los Angeles, California. Let me bring him in. Sammady, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Good, thank you. And thank you for being here today.
Same, Mom. Thank you for inviting me.
How you been?
Good. Just busy with school, that's all.
Is it final yet?
Yes, finals. This is finals week. This week and next
good.
week. So
Crunch time.
Yeah, well.
Okay, thank you, Sammady.
Thank you.
My third guest is Mr. Sophorn Seng. He is the chairman of the Electoral Commissions for Overseas Cambodian, stand for CEROC. Let me bring him out. Sophorn, how are you?
Linda, I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me today for the show.
Thank you for being here. Can you, you've been here enough. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, my name is Sophorn Seng. I am the director for the Committee for Election Rights of Overseas Cambodians. The abbreviation is called CEROC or the CEROC. So this commission is helping Cambodian overseas to engage in Cambodia politics, especially to participate in the election, in national elections. So we want Cambodian overseas to participate in election without traveling to Cambodia. So they can vote from abroad, like every other country around the world. They have permitted their citizens living abroad to have rights to elect their leader in Cambodia, in their country. So we want that too. So I want to join the vote. That's why we started the campaign about 4 or 5 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Sophorn, for being here tonight.
You are very welcome.
Let me add all three our guests back out. So thank you everyone for being here. Our topic would be leadership in time of crisis. We will be discussing the responsibility of a leader in time of crisis. Since current crisis in Cambodia is COVID-19, we will review and the current pandemic, and also we will review the issues of mishandling of the pandemic due to the lack of leadership. During time of crisis, leaders should have a plan, should have clear communications, and also should have actions to loosen the burden on its citizens. During the COVID-19 in Cambodia, it happened the same time like us. So basically the whole world is experiencing COVID-19. In order to find solutions, we need to acknowledge that there is a problem. Since beginning of the pandemic, which is in America, we would be in March of 2020. In Cambodia, I think it's probably people are hearing about COVID-19 since it named COVID-19 because it exists in 2019. We all heard it in November or December in 2019, what's going on in Wuhan, China. At the same time, the leadership in Cambodia heard about it and make many statements. So in order for us to be a great leader, we think a leader should have a plan. So at the beginning of the pandemic, how should Hun Sen and his regime handle the virus differently? Sammady, you want to start out? And
I believe Hun Sen downplay COVID. He want to make people seem that he is a capable leader. I believe when COVID first began, it hit the hardest in the U.S. and then in Cambodia, there's like 5 cases of COVID-19, and whoever dare to speak about COVID-19 will get thrown in jail. And if for spreading false news, basically, and this is not a capable leadership. And now he just have a lockdown without informing the citizen 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. And for those people that have money, they can just order food to eat. But for those poor people in Cambodia, 90% of them, when they don't go to work and they in lockdown, they don't have anything to eat. They couldn't afford to buy food. So this is really bad leadership on Hun Sen's hand. So yes, that's my thought on it, Bong.
thank you. Let me have Bong Sita put us a couple words in. How should the regime handle the virus differently since beginning, Bong?
It's bad. Hun Sen at the beginning, he downplayed the just like somebody said, he downplayed the virus. Anybody who mentioned about virus or how bad it is in the world, he just not paying attention, and he also try to threaten people who want to say anything about virus, coronavirus in general. So he doesn't, he even says that anybody use glove or mask and he'll put them in jail too. So yeah, it was bad. Leadership, the outbreak is around the world already at the beginning, from the very beginning. But he started out, even though there's not many infected people in Cambodia, but he should learn from what's going on around the world. So when it comes to Cambodia, he'll be, as a leader, be prepared. But it doesn't seem like that. He was just downplay everything. He doesn't want to acknowledge coronavirus exists. And so now it's come to the country and he doesn't know how to handle it. And he had a whole year to watch other leaders in the world, should know what to do already, at least, have some idea. But right now it seems like he doesn't have much idea what to do and, how to handle the virus and the people. So.
Thank you, Bong Sita. Mr. Sophorn, do you remember in February 2020 when I guess that's when Cambodia was in the news and Hun Sen making a remark where people wear masks, you need to get out, and February 31st is not, that's when the virus happened in Cambodia. Do you remember any of that, Mr. Sophorn?
Yeah, I remember that scene, and also the shouting voice from Prime Minister Hun Sen. And I remember there was a young journalist. She is a girl from VOD, a local online newspaper asked Hun Sen about the preparedness of the outbreak. And Hun Sen asked back to the lady that, do you see any infection people? And the lady said that until now, the health authority have not yet reported any infections. And Hun Sen start to shout at her that, you see, why you ask me about preparedness, about infection, when nobody infected yet? So in that moment, when I saw the scene like that, I think Prime Minister Hun Sen is not only downplaying the outbreak, he is careless and he is not responsible for the 16 million Cambodian people. Because as a leader, he is not representing only himself and his family. As a leader, he is representing the 16 million Cambodian population. So he should ask the technical staff or the health professional to answer the question. And he should believe in scientific research to do that. But for what I see, he is the one-man show leader, and his style is irresponsible, irrational, autocratic, and also politicizing. So he politicized the outbreak, he politicized the COVID-19. Like you know, the COVID started in November, when the first Wuhan doctor, he is the obstetrician doctor, he sent the message to his friend, but he was banned by the China CPP party, the China Communist Party, and lately he was died and became a hero in the world because he is the person who whistleblower about the outbreak. And later on, other countries they started to ban China Airlines, especially from Wuhan. But Prime Minister Hun Sen, he go along with China because he is afraid that his only one relationship country that recognize his regime is only China. Like you know, after the election in 2018, nobody recognized the new election, the new government, because of the lacking electoral professionalism and election fairness. Only China recognized his country, so he see his power and his politics more than the public here or the Cambodian people. That's why he don't play it and he play along with China, and he dare not reject the virus. He dare not take precaution to prevent the virus. So we waste our time. If we can see November, December, January, February, and middle of March. So almost 4 months that we lost or we waste our time to prepare ourselves for the outbreak. And as a responsible leader, if I am Mr. Hun Sen, I have to apologize to Cambodian people about his carelessness, about his denying, you know, because at the beginning he denied that no COVID virus ever existed. And he said that until we change the calendar to February 31st, so that there will be COVID in Cambodia. And during his speech, you know, there are a lot of audience, and those audience are students, graduate students, and they applaud him, you know, they applaud him. He congratulate about his joking. This is a joke, right? Like 31st of April, so that Cambodia will have COVID. This is a joke, but you know, so this is really, really bad. Not only reflecting to the Cambodian people, but it is reflecting to the world that Cambodia should not have such unvisionary leader.
Yes, so he's not being serious about the virus. He's not acknowledged the virus. In order for a leadership to have plan, to have what to do next, they have to own up to that. Hey, that there is a virus that is going on, spreading through the world, and they need to be serious. But at the same time, like you said, it's 4 or 5 months in November. And we are not preparing for anything beside him telling people not to wear masks, not to participate in, not wearing masks in public, not wearing masks seeing him. So that we do not have plan because he's not acknowledged, he's not being real about the virus. Before I continue, I actually forgot to give the current number in Cambodia. Let me pull it up and then let me go through the number and then we'll talk about what's going on right now. As you can see, this is May 11, so it's updated. Actually, since Cambodia is ahead of us. Right now, we have 131 fatalities, so that's 131 people in Cambodia have lost their life to the virus. The total infected rate is 20,223 people have been infected with COVID-19. Out of those 20,000, 8,170 people have recovered. So there's a lot of people, and there's a lot more people that still not recover right now. That is the current number as of May 11, which is yesterday in Cambodia. They are in the morning now, May 12. That's the number right now. After seeing that number, how do you feel about the information that being shared to the public, Mr. Sophorn, since 2020 until now? How do you feel? Do you feel that the regime is honestly with the people, or the regime still don't care?
Yeah, Linda. For me, I carefully observe and following with the scientific research. So scientific research, they document every day of infection and die. So if you see the curve, you can see that this curve, it is not realistic and it is not scientific. I can say that. And absolutely, you see, start from February, from this accurate documentation, we declare only one case in February. And in March, we declare only 99 cases. And until around April, we have one fatality, one death, one people died from the COVID. So one people died from the COVID is on March 13, 2021. So you can imagine that, from the beginning until March, we have only one death. And until March, we have only 328 infected. So after March 25th to April 8th, we have 1,090 infected. But from April 8th up to now, the number are skyrocketing, So this is not scientific at all. It's skyrocketing to 11,797 infected. And the death toll is really high, 110, just for this about few weeks period. So you cannot describe in any way in a scientific research that this curve should be accurate. So the question is, the public figure from the public here is really accurate, or is it a man-made? Is it making up for some intention or maybe political reason? And according to many analysts have written down on the newspaper, Hun Sen take in advantage of the outbreak to play his political game. At the beginning he rejected, and after that he start to accept it, and after he accept it, the infection start very high up. And during the lockdown, the number is really high up, so that he can legitimize his plan to lock down. And also, if we look at the public health solution, Cambodian experts and professionals have not yet played important role to handle this crisis at all. This is very contradictory to Vietnam or to Thailand, regardless of US, Australia, or Canada. They are very civilized country. So the prime minister or the president, they cannot say anything publicly without advising or declaring by the professional. So the professional will take in charge for this issue. But in Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen take in charge everything. So when you don't believe in scientific and you don't believe in professional or the public here, you fail. So Hun Sen himself failed. And also the preparedness. He had no pre-plan to provide support to the Cambodian people, because with this virus infection, many people have no job, so unemployment. So with unemployment, we have to provide support to both the employee and the employer. And also, we have to support the public health, especially the health authority who is responsible for the COVID-19. But in Cambodia, we don't have enough money to support, to buy instruments, to support the nurses, the doctor, and the healthcare professional to work overtime on this. And also to provide education to the public. And this matter, Hun Sen have no preparedness at all. He start to say this, to say that, and also to do fundraising, to buy vaccine or do fundraising that he claim he will pay to the people, but the people have never received that grant and that money at all.
Correct.
If we work in a structural government or good governance, with this crisis, the parliament must amend the law, especially to settle a budget. You know, every country, regardless of communist, Vietnamese communist, regardless of Thailand, junta country, the parliaments play important role to handle this crisis by approving the budget, you know, so that come into the total amount, not only to help with the people who are infected, but to help the people who are unemployed, who have no work, no job, and no income. But in Cambodia, no. Parliament doesn't play any role at all, doesn't play any role to handle the crisis at all. Only Hun Sen himself play around. He play alone, you know. And also, when he start to recognize the crisis, when he start to plan for the lockdown, he created another ad hoc committee led by his son, Hun Manet, and his son-in-law, Hun Manet's wife, to handle that crisis. So this is wrong. According to professional plan, we cannot give to someone else who have no experience in public health, because it is a mismanagement. It become a showman rather than to handle the problem. You see that? They should give this to the professional public health authority to handle it, because they have knowledge and they have capacity to do it, and they know the cause and effect more than anybody else, right?
Yes.
So in this case, the number that come up after the lockdown is skyrocketing. Linda, you cannot imagine why.
Yes,
when they lock down, when they got vaccination, but more infected and more people die. So the number is not accurate at all. EU depend on scientific analysis. This is what I see.
Thank you, Mr. Sophorn. Since you're talking about the lockdown, and since the lockdown also happened last month, it started in April. Let me have Bong Sita and have her input on what's going on with the lockdown. During the lockdown, they came up with three zones: red zone, dark yellow, and yellow. The red zone considered very highly risk infected areas. So what they did was they locked you down. It's like they block you from entering to the community or exiting the community. During the lockdown, do you feel that is there clear communications communicated to the people in the red zone? Do you feel that there is enough information because when it's lockdown, it started before Khmer New Year and it's ended on May 5th. So how effective or how much communication do you feel that it have been passed to our citizens?
Not effective, obviously. We saw on the news that when the lockdown happened, they did not give advance notice. They just say, okay, that town, that block is in, gonna lock down overnight. People get up in the morning and then it just everything blocked. They cannot exit or enter, and that's just not right. It's ineffective. In other country, like in United States, even though lockdown, they give heads up. They tell people, okay, we're gonna need everybody to cooperate. We're gonna, the red zone. We have red zone, yellow zone, and all that stuff too. But people still can go out to market with the precaution measure, wear mask, hand sanitizer, wear glove, distancing, all that, and we were able to go places to get food for the necessity for the family to survive. In Cambodia, it did not happen like that. It just complete absolute lockdown. To me, it feel like 1975 all over again. The Khmer Rouge came along and then just shut everything down, and then we have they gave us 3 days at least to get things ready to go, to move out. But here it seems like it no time were given at all. People wake up and then everything just block in their their neighborhood, their block just blocked completely. So it's very ineffective how the official handle things.
Thank you. Thank you, Mom. Let me have Sammady to come and actually chime in on the communication and also what happened during the lockdown. Does the virus, the rate going down as they planned? Because during the lockdown, the reason they're doing lockdown because they want to control the virus. So I want Sammady to chime in and see, does it work or what happened during the lockdown? Hi, Sammady. Can you help our audience to understand? Basically, according to Sophorn and Sita, there's no communications. There's no clear communications, and we do know that Wang Sita said at least in the 1975, the first Khmer regime, they give 3 days to prepare. How do you feel about this lockdown, Sammady?
Well, first, I feel like it's from the movie. I don't know if you have ever watched the movie from Netflix called First They Kill My Father, where they take you to the killing fields and just put your body there. So this is similar, but in 2020, 2021, basically the government just come in with a bunch of police and the hospital vehicle, take you away and put you in one place with some random other people, even though they're not sure if you have COVID yet. To me, in the US, if a person have COVID, they don't just call in the ambulance and throw you in a place with other people, like in a cage, in a zone. That's not what they do. They told you to quarantine for 14 days until everything feels better. The only reason you go to the hospital, they put you in an emergency care is when you can't breathe, you require oxygen. So on severe cases, that's when they put you in the hospital or in a COVID zone, let's say. But in Cambodia, when they hear, oh, this guy has COVID, they just come, take you away from your parent, and put you in one place. What happened if you're not really sick, but you attract COVID from that person in that place and made it worse, and it affected you? So I feel like this is a really bad part on the government. You just can't come and take people. Yeah,
Let me show you a picture of when this is in the red zone, and these people how basically coming out because they don't have any food, they're starving. So looking at that, is that enough space for people to even 6 feet to not get COVID? If you don't get COVID from here, you will actually get COVID from just standing there waiting for food.
Yes, so I don't know what's the point of having a red zone or a yellow zone or green zone if when people come out for food, you're just standing next to one another. Just one person cough and everyone there would have COVID. So it's no different from the hospital or the place that they put you in where you have COVID, where the ambulance take you to. So I believe this is just a show and to flex his power, and also he wants to show people in Cambodia that if he said he's going to do something, it's possible. So prepare for it. So that is my opinion.
Thank you, Sammady. I know Mr. Sophorn is wanting to talk about the number. Let me bring the number, even though the number that we feel that it's not accurate, but this number is for being in 30 days. I think we've seen this number already. Based on that number, I want Mr. Sophorn to say, does it even work? Does the lockdown even work, Mr. Sophorn?
Yeah, according to this number, it become more politicization more than reality to handle the COVID. Because, you know, when you lock down people in order to abate or to decrease the amount of infection. So in this case, when they create more red zone and lock down people in one space, and the number of infection is high up, it means that fail. So the lockdown without proper planning, and also the meaning of lockdown in Cambodia is really different from any other country in the world. Because in Canada, in my place, they lock down too, but they don't put wire to block you not to travel, not to uh, uh, walk from place to place. They don't put barrack like that, you know, like this one. No, this is not lockdown. This is kind of put in the cage, like Sammady said. So you put people in the cage and more infected in the cage because no social distancing. It's no 6 feet. And if you see the bed that they prepare at cockpit, you know, the cockpit and the government mouthpiece news, they reported that the government really caring about the people by creating the wedding building in cockpit, turning into the COVID quarantine. And if you see that bed, it is not 6 feet, according to WHO or World Health Organization that regulated that people have to stay social distancing. But the bed for quarantine or the infected person, only 1 meter each other, very close. It seems like they put people into more infected, more than just disinfect them. And also, if you see many video clips, yeah, this is the picture that after the lockdown has been ceased, people try to escape from Phnom Penh because those people lost trust on the authority about the COVID-19 handling. They just starve them or put them in the jail without help them to protect from infection. That's why people run away from Phnom Penh after the authority declared that the lockdown is over. So many things that Hun Sen leadership and his bureaucracy lost trust from the Cambodian people. You know, one of the mantra for leadership is trust, right, Linda? But according to what we see, his handling issues in the beginning, he create more chaotic, more than bonding the people to protect the virus. So other word, we can say that Hun Sen might help bring more virus into Cambodia. Why? Because he allowed a Chinese airline fly directly from Wuhan to Phnom Penh International Airport and from Wuhan to Kampong Sao. So since November, December, January, February, and March, we can say that more virus bringing to Cambodia because of the airplane, no restricted. It's different from the U.S., like in Washington State, the Seattle, close to my place, that many Chinese flying from Wuhan. And in the U.S., Washington State is the first state that infected seriously by COVID-19. And during that moment, U.S. government banned all flights from China, not only from Wuhan. But different from Cambodia, that the flight from China and Wuhan continue unabated, you know. And also Hun Sen welcome the ship, the tourist ship from England to embark in Kampong Sao, while the other country like Philippines, Taiwan, or Thailand, they rejected that ship to embark on their harbor because they protect their own citizen. But for Hun Sen, if he think about his own citizen, he should not do that. But what he do is he just want to become hero by himself, and he declare through the newspaper through the news report that he respect the right of survival more than the rights of living and right of freeing from infection. So his word already interpreting that he doesn't care about Cambodian people. Cambodian people can be more infected, so that he can welcome more infected foreigner to Cambodia. Chinese people from Wuhan, from China, and the people from the ship. And Cambodia, they cannot find any infected person. But when the Malaysia, I think Indonesia, found one lady infected, you know, Cambodian become outburst that this number is not new, it's not real, it's fake, right? So
Yes.
here manipulation around at the beginning. And after that, he welcomed the ambassador from, I think from one of the European country, and they don't respect protocol. The protocol is they just like this, they don't shake hand. But including Minister of Foreign Affairs, Prak Sokhonn, including other minister, including Hun Sen himself, welcome the delegate from Hungary, I think from Hungary, and they shake hand. And after that, there was a burst outbreak in infection during that time. So, you know, all this caused by whom? Caused by Hun Sen himself, not the Cambodian people. So Cambodian people feel like no protected at all from their leader. That's why they lost trust. And until today, they lost trust. That's what I see.
The thing is, from having not acknowledged the virus, from having no plan, does not matter if Hun Sen acknowledged or not that the COVID-19 happened. We know that's personally affected the Cambodian people. The travel industry to Cambodia is basically dead to basically turned to zero traveling. And so even though Hun Sen not acknowledged COVID-19, the world acknowledged COVID-19, and not many people travel. And also that one sector, also the government the factory worker, nobody, like the economy shut down. In America, economy shut down. People not basically shut down, but nobody want to buy clothes. They want to buy medicine. They want to buy those for their home. So in the beginning, Hun Sen himself did came out and have a financial goal. What his financial goal is. Cambodia have 30 tons of gold. And also his 6-month plan was Cambodia have $80 million going to be injected into the economy. And if the COVID-19 is not dying down within 6 months, in 12-month plans, he have a $2 billion, going to inject $2 billion into the economy. On top of that, he was also able to raise over $100 million to get the COVID-19. Let me have Bong Sita and to explain what should Hun Sen do with that money, and when should the money be injected into the economy. We are, well, what, 18 months into COVID-19 now. Where is the 30 tons of gold, the $80 million to the economy, and $2 billion into the economy, and 100,000 million to the economy? Nabong, when should he release that money, or what's going on with the money?
I don't think he will, because the day that he said, okay, that people gonna get 30,000 real, I think the next day he said there's no more money, and he came out and he announced that too. So he says what he wants and when he wanted, and you know, but the reality, the international world, like the US, donate since April to the COVID relief, millions and millions of dollars, and there more funds came from other country all along. But where are those money? He probably use it for whatever else, who knows, you know, but and he announced that he have gold and all that stuff. That it should comes out now. I mean, you know, during the lockdown, for people to buy food, donate to them so they can buy food, because the food price raised so high. And we even saw some news that those food and goods that the government supposedly to donate to people, but instead they turn around and they sell to people with the government trucks, with the government uniform. It's just unbelievable how they handle the situation, you know, the COVID lockdown and all that stuff. And I have some number as of April 30th. It's, you know, two weeks behind, but from the Amnesty International report, it says that they're very concerned about the lockdown. They said that estimate of almost 300,000, 293,000 plus people in the red zone in Phnom Penh alone. And then there's another 23, almost 24,000 people in the Brazil Nukville, also in the red zone that was complete lockdown. And they were pleading for the government to you know, Cambodian government outrageous mishandling, this is their word quoting, outrageous mishandling of the COVID-19 lockdown is causing unfold suffering and sweeping human rights violation across the country. And yeah, so not just us seeing this, the international world is also pleading, you know, asking for the government to rethink of how to handle the COVID situation. Even though the lockdown now is being lifted some area, but the situation is not, it's still not handling it. I mean, the government's still not handling the situation properly, correctly, as they should have.
Thank you, Namong. Let me have Sammady coming in. Sammady, what happened to the money? What's going on? Can you help? Maybe you can, you read more, or you can tell me what's going on, because I have not seen a penny. I guess what I want is the American government is release the COVID-19 relief fund to the American people to support unemployment, to support people that basically support during COVID pandemic. And also, if you does not have food at home, you can go to the community center, open your trunk, the trunk of your car, and you get food. I am also heard that in Cambodia, the regime is going to release basically help 3 months or 5 months worth of electric or water. I have not seen. I keep seeing on Facebook, I keep seeing on the news that the electric rate is double, and also people complain how come the mistake never go down, but the mistake always go up. So somebody, what happened to the 30 ton of gold, or what's going on with the regime?
Well, so since today topic is about leadership, a political leaders should be pursuing passion and bringing positive cause to their country, especially during this time of crisis. Our prime minister, instead of doing that, he kind of seized this opportunity to do business. As you said, the electricity bill is double. Why is it double? Well, because they want to take all those money into their pocket. I don't know what they're going to do to it, but if those money going to people in the red zone, that would be great idea. But I don't believe it will be going to the people pocket. And the second thing is the Ministry of Commerce is selling food now. If you see on the street, you see people in uniform. The Ministry of Commerce, translated into Cambodia, is Krasong Panichakam. They selling food to people basically because they are not allowing people to travel across the states in Cambodia. And they shut down all the entrance. So the only way is to buy ration from the government. So I believe he used this opportunity to do business with the Cambodian people. So all the money is going into his own pocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammady. Let me put everyone back on the same screen. We are almost at the end of our show. Since we're talking about leadership and we are talking about the Hun Sen himself handling of the COVID-19. Let me have Mr. Sophorn. He can start. Does Hun Sen has what it takes to be a leader? He's been in power for over 35 years, I guess almost 40 years, does not mean that a person know how to lead a country. Does he know how to lead the country, Mr. Sophorn?
For Mr. Hun Sen and his follower, or we call his loyalists, they agree that Hun Sen is the Superman because he can cling to power for over 40 years. But for the Cambodian youth and for the international observer, he is using his people to legitimize his power more than expressing himself as a leader, because the term of the leader means that you bring happiness and welfare to the Cambodian people. But according to the international research, they found out that his leadership is full of corruption, abusing of power. He used the will of the nation to crack down all the critics, especially the Cambodian National Electoral Party, which is the vibrant opposition party in Cambodia that could change the face of Cambodia in the future. And CNRP can bring sustainability to this country. But for Hun Sen and his loyalists, they don't see that. They see only that they do whatever they can crack down, they can put them in jail, or they can amputate them, or they can put them in, or they can, like we talk about the legacy of impunity. Since Hun Sen came to power, the impunity has become a culture, has become a legacy that nobody can deny. So in this perspective, his leadership has been strong in a failed state. That's what I can see. According to what the academics research, according to what I study at the university, the term of the failed state, including Cambodia, has become a failed state. Because this country with the international support, United Nations, spend trillions of dollars to help this country economically, politically, socially. They can emerge as the strongest country in Southeast Asia because nobody that lucky like Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, or Thailand. Nobody has like Cambodia. But Cambodia cannot escape from poverty. And we can see that Cambodian people are in a poverty line. They cannot earn $1 per day. So this is the reality that his leadership is failed. and he turned Cambodia country from glory into the failed state. And he always compare the country to the Khmer rule. And at the moment, when the crisis coming, he only tried to brag and boast his leadership by shutting down the independent media. So when you shut down the independent media, it means that you only show off. You have no credibility at all, right?
Correct.
Like if you go to the ring for fight, right? You have to have the same weight and same characteristic so that they can fight. So for Hun Sen, he just go and fight alone, no competitor. So when you fight and no competitor, you're not a winner, you are a loser. Yeah, this is what I see, that his leadership, politically speaking, economically observing, and socially responsible, he failed all those three areas. And I can see that the future sustainability of this country is failed from his leadership. And in the future, whenever Hun Sen has stepped down, I do hope the young breed or the new leader, especially democratic leader, will bring Cambodia back to the glory again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sophorn. Let me have Bong Sita. We talk about a plan, clear communications, actions, what we should do. Does Hun Sen has what it takes to be a leader?
Nope. Okay, so I'm going to just read a few quotes from this website. It says, grow my leaderships, leaders versus dictator. So to me, Hun Sen seems like he's a dictator, not a leader. So dictator feeds on powers. Leaders empower others for, and then dictator are about position. Leaders are about people. They care about people instead of the position, hold on to for 40 years and plus. Dictator hoard authority. Leaders delegate authority. Dictator are takers. Leaders are givers. So he's none of those leader characteristics. Just a few more. Dictator focus on the moment. So like the COVID-19 crisis, he panic. He doesn't know how to handle the moment. But for leaders, focus on the future. If he were the true leader, he would have planned this, a year ago when the whole world encountered the crisis. He would have preparation, readiness for the country. It should be handled with scientists, but he didn't do any of that. So okay, dictator blame other when mistake take place. Leaders take responsibility when mistake are made. So those are just some of the few characteristic of leaders versus dictator. And to me, all the characteristic of Hun Sen possessed and utilized all these years, he's more of a dictator than a leader to me. So
thank you, Well, it's very clear. It's really clear. And just looking at COVID-19, basically it's the 18 months span. He has no plan. He has no preparations, and he does not, and still today does not have plan. He's lived at the moment, and it's not. So it is true dictatorship. Sammady, and you as the youngest, you're gonna have the last on this. How do you feel, Sammady? How do you feel about Hun Sen? How his leadership, is it a leadership or just plain dictatorship like Nabong Sita said?
Well, under Hun Sen regime, the right thing to do is to show power during this time, so people can follow. That's not leadership. That is dictatorships. As you can see, right now in Cambodia, there's lacking in food security and in COVID-19 during this time. The primary risk of food security in Cambodia is at the all-time high. Higher retail prices combined with reduced income because of the zone. People can't go out to work for 14 days. That means more and more households have to cut down on the quantity and quality of their food consumption. So a good leader would be giving his own citizen a heads up a couple of days, not just you go to sleep and the next day there's a zone in front of you that you can't go out. And what if that household doesn't have food? In Cambodia, people don't stock up food because of their living condition. They could not afford to stock up food. They buy like a cup of rice every day just to provide for their family because that's how much they can afford. So a good leadership would be providing like stimulus check, like in the U.S., to their own citizen, not selling food, not telling the Ministry of Commerce to sell food to their own citizen, not raising the electricity bill because of an accident during this time. So I think a dictatorship like under Hun Sen regime seized this opportunity to do business to the Cambodian people. So that is not a good leadership. That is poor leaderships and dictatorships at the same time.
Thank you, Sammady. So we can say there's no leadership in crisis in Cambodia during this COVID-19.
Can I add something before we end?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Sophorn.
I just I'm reminded the speech by William Arthur Ward. He is the historian author for the U.S. He said that leadership is based on inspiration, not domination. This is contradict to Prime Minister Hun Sen. He is dominating, occupying, not inspiring at all. And leadership is based on cooperation, not intimidation. This is contradict to Mr. Hun Sen because he more into intimidate the people than cooperate with the people, cooperate with the professional, the healthcare professional, and cooperate with every stakeholder. No, he is not. He is more intimidating, and he intimidates through his speech, through his voice, through his action, through his microphone, every time. So I don't think this is a good style for Cambodian younger generation at all.
Thank you, Mr. Sophorn, and thank you, Bong Sita, and thank you, Sammady, for our conversation today on leadership. And we mainly focus on the Cambodian leadership during the crisis, which is COVID-19. And it is loud and clear there's no leadership, and it's loud and clear Hun Sen does not have leadership, period. So I know many people of different side of politics, but at the same time, we brought out the truth. We brought out, that there's not, and we can point it out, people in lockdown with very little communications, and at the same time, lockdown for 2 weeks, and then extended for another week. So over 3 weeks with no food, and finally, that support passing out food. And when passing out food at the same time, there's a discriminations who to pass out and who to give the food to. And recently, electric bill, water bill going up. And what I heard is accidentally going up. That's not leadership. Leadership should have said, you know what, you in the red zone, you in the yellow zone or dark yellow zone. You're not allowed to go out. So at the same time, those should not be charged. So clearly show there's no leadership in during the crisis in Cambodia, which is COVID-19 right now. So thank you so much, all my guests. Thank you, Bong Sita. Thank you, Lok Sophorn, and thank you, Sammady, for being here today, for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, our audience, for today. We come to the end, and thank you for staying with us, and thank you for enjoying our show and tuning into our shows. Our topic today, we talk about for over an hour, leadership in crisis. And what we talking about leadership, we're talking about recently COVID-19 leadership it's only recently that Hun Sen is coming out and talking about COVID-19. For the last 18 months, there's no knowledge of COVID-19, there's no responsibility, and there's no plan. So after 18 months, there's still no plan, and the COVID-19 is infection rate and people are dying from it at a higher than last year. So when the world is basically the world is having vaccine. For example, in America, the COVID infection rate is going down, but in Cambodia, the infection rate is skyrocket. So that is clearly show a leadership without responsibility. There's no leadership in doing crisis. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you.